colder than normal conditions are expected in the east to start off January. And with average precipitation chances, we could have some good winter weather going on. Although much of the west and southwest look to remain warmer and drier than normal, with the exception of parts of the Rockies, Northern Plains, and the Pacific Northwest as we approach New Year's. Alright, we have a lot to talk about. Let's get into the weather. First off, let's look at our 5-day rainfall forecast. A large strip of the southeast looks to get at least 2 to 4 inches of rainfall over the next 5 days, although much of the east will see rainfall as we move into this weekend. Our rainfall out west continues through much of this week and weekend, with of course a lot of this being high elevation snow for the Rockies, Cascades, and Sierra Nevada. We could see some decent accumulations even in the southern Rockies. We do have a severe weather threat tomorrow afternoon and into the evening time for eastern Texas, western Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and then eventually moving up through the Tennessee Valley. Now this area right here through eastern Texas, western Louisiana, and southern Arkansas does give us a slight risk for tornadoes. As we move deeper into the evening tomorrow, this southern jet will really begin to intensify, and we could see a few tornadoes spawning through this region. So really, if you're anywhere down here, you have to be paying attention going into tomorrow afternoon, especially as we get into that later time frame. And then as we get into the 27th, this severe weather threat will shift slightly to the east. Our tornado chances won't be as high, but you can see this encompasses parts of western Alabama and most of Mississippi and Louisiana at this point. Now, unfortunately for our New Year's Eve, we do expect a pretty broad but weak system to be moving up towards New England through the Ohio Valley and Great Lake region. Now, there's a small chance this could put some snow down into cities like Chicago, into northwestern Indiana, maybe even Detroit. Although it really looks to just be a lot of mixing for these areas, the temperatures aren't going to be right for that fluffy, good accumulating snow. Although watch what happens as this storm moves off the coast. Models do have this negatively tilting and this low begins to bomb out. With a lot of cold air moving in behind this system and that low pressure rapidly dropping, we could see some snow moving in on the back end of this system into the Great Lake region, potentially the Mid-Atlantic, and definitely New England. And this would likely begin around the 1st of January into the 2nd. Now, for the most part out west, our New Year's Eve looks really good, except for the coastal Washington area. So Seattle, you might be seeing some rainfall. Okay, lastly, I want you guys to pay attention to this significant warming event happening up here in Canada. As we move forward in time, this pocket of warm air wants to shift its way up towards the Arctic. Now, what this can do is help to build a higher pressure over the Arctic, which can really disrupt that polar jet. With a weaker and slower polar jet, as a result, a lot of this cold air is going to try to sink under and push down into the lower 48. That's why we go from a look like this to end off December to a look like this as we move through the beginning of January. Basically, the lower 48 really begins to cool down, and that is a pretty big pattern shift in a short period of time. And a lot of this has to do with this negative AO up here, which is when you do get that blocking in the polar jet and a lot of that cool air shifts to the south. I've spoke about it in my previous videos, but we're continuing to see the trend. And of course, like I've said, this is what you're going to want to see if you want to have a chance to get snow in the south for January. Alrighty guys, I appreciate you watching this video. Feel free to throw me a follow if you like this type of content. I post every day. I stream every night. I will be streaming tonight at around 9 p.m. So I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video.